welcome back to my channel. Today we're going over why giving birth on your back may not be the most optimal position to birth your baby. But first, if you're pregnant and new to my channel, make sure you subscribe and click the bell button below so you don't miss any of my pelvic floor tips for an empowering birth and postpartum recovery. Before taking my pelvic health courses, I truly believed that the only position to give birth in was flat on the back with feet in stirrups. And maybe that is what you think as well. And I think where I took that idea from is from movies, right? Because every time you see a woman giving birth in a movie, they're always like, flat on the back and like the legs up. Through my education, I learned that there's so many reasons why being on your back is the least ideal position to birth a baby. So I'll show you why in this video. So first, I would suggest that we review the birth mechanics and how your baby is going to actually make their way through your pelvis during birth, because that is what turned on the light bulbs for me really when I learned this. In order for your baby to come down into the pelvic inlet here, this bone here called the sacrum will have to tilt this way. And at the same time, these two bones here called the iliac bones will have to open sideways. Once your baby has crossed the pelvic inlet, they will then rotate in order to have their nose toward the back. And in the pushing stage, the sacrum and tailbone will move back, and the bottom of the iliac bones will move sideways, and your baby will come out the pelvic outlet at that point. Now let's pretend you are lying right on your back during this process. How would it influence the movement of your sacrum? Can you see that your sacrum would be anchored and unable to move? Also, do you see that curve here in the sacrum bone? This curve would make it way harder for your baby to come out if you're lying on your back, because it's like they have to climb up the hill of your sacrum in order to come out. Now, does that mean that it's impossible for you to give birth on your back? Absolutely not, because a lot of women have done it, right? But you will require much more effort than if you were kneeling or standing or on all fours, for example. Studies have shown that you are more likely to require medical interventions like forceps, vacuum, episiotomy when you give birth on your back versus in upright positions. And all of these interventions increase your risk of severe perineal tears and pelvic injuries. I will link an article from the Evidence-Based Birth website below if you want to dive deeper into the research behind this. Now, you may wonder, why do women give birth on their backs if it is the least ideal position, right? And the idea of lying flat on a bed to give birth actually began when women moved from giving birth at home with midwives to giving birth in hospitals. So they were instructed to lie flat on their back because it was more convenient for the delivery doctors to assist them in this position. The increased use of epidurals can also explain why women give birth on their back, because epidurals can affect your mobility and limit your birth position choices. Some studies have suggested that for women who had an epidural, being in a side-lying position and doing frequent position changes can help reduce the length of the pushing stage and the use of medical interventions like forceps, vacuum, and episiotomies. So even if you have an epidural, choosing a side-lying position would still be better compared to lying flat on your back. All of that being said, I want to be clear that you have the right to push and give birth in whichever position is most comfortable for you, regardless if you get an epidural or not. I definitely had clients who chose to give birth on their back because their mama's intuition was telling them so, and it's perfectly fine if that is your decision. But my point was just to open your mind to the fact that there are other positions to give birth in, and these other positions have been shown to be more effective for various reasons. So if these positions feel right for you, it is your right to use them. Now, if you're eager to learn more actionable tips to prepare physically for an empowering birth, I am actually hosting a free birth prep masterclass on a regular basis, and I would love for you to be part of it. So you can reserve your seat for my next one in the description below. I hope to see you there, and thanks for watching.